Sorry to be eating and talking to you. I needed to finish up. But I have to get going and doing some other things too. So please forgive. It's Chloe. And I have been so busy. I think I did get a video out over the weekend or earlier in the week, but I can't remember. I'm starting school this week with my boys. This is our first official full week of school. And we're getting used to blending our homeschool routine with going to a couple classes a couple of days a week, and that's changing my other schedules as well. Like when I can do vlogging, and when I can take readings and do stuff like that. So I had a couple thoughts, and I just wanted to get it out there. I am so loving the weather. We are finally feeling fall. Throughout this week, it really started to click on, which is so appropriate as we are drawing closer and closer to the autumn equinox. It's an equinox, isn't it? I think so. Yes, I believe. It's next week. And so I'm so glad we're actually going to be able to experience autumn weather during the proper equinox next week. It's been kind of funny because my boys are like, it's so cold. And then it gets in the afternoon, around lunchtime or a bit after, it's so freaking hot. I gotta take my hoodie off. And yeah, the extreme, I don't even think of it as extreme. You know, the cooler temperatures mixed with the hot still that we experience as summer releases its stranglehold. You know, it's part of the natural cycles. And speaking of natural cycles, I am aware, just like most people, if you pay attention to any kind of news at all, and I actually don't pay attention to a lot, but lately it's become more prevalent for me to notice a few articles as I turn on my computer and it opens up to Google and those articles that tell you news around the world. I don't watch the news, so that's how I kind of, if I get drawn by a title or a picture, I'll take a peek. Depending on what it says, I may or may not look further. But some of the things that have drawn my attention in the last few days has been some of these comments, and one or two has been just famous people, kind of offhanded comments about nature being mad or pissed off or something. And then another comment by an evangelist who I think is also at one time a pretty famous teen star. I think his name's Kirk Cameron, not sure, can't remember off the top of my head. But he is an evangelist, and he was talking about how he felt that the hurricanes were, and this is not per word, but basically that the hurricanes were God's way of disciplining us and yet also showing his love. That's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, if the hurricanes were happening in not during their proper season, then I might accredit it with something. But all you have here are more intense hurricanes during the proper season that they usually occur. Again, if it was happening out of season, then I could see some gloom and doom or some worrying in that sense. But to attribute the awesome power of nature and its natural cycles to a very I don't know, a personality that flips on and off. What is that? Bipolar God or whatever. I mean, I don't mean to disrespect Christian faith or your God or whatever. It's just that why would a God act like that? It sounds like a parent who disciplined far too harshly, maybe even got CPS called on them, and then the next minute acts really, really loving to try to get things all back to normal, and then in the right season starts acting like a chaos person again, a dangerous, chaotic person again. And people like that usually have their children taken from them. So I don't really feel like it's a good idea to attribute any kind of God to that kind of personality type. But that's my take on it. What we're really looking at here, folks, is a natural cycle. And in that natural cycle, its reaction to us is more intense than it used to be because of how we've affected its currents and energies. If it got to an area that usually doesn't see the hurricanes quite at all or quite as intensely, it's not unheard of though. You can look at any of the reports and they're saying, yeah, it's been a long time since they had anything like that here. This is definitely more intense than they've experienced before, but it isn't uncommon, right? And it's happening during its natural time period. And I think it's unfair that they're saying, not just unfair, but kind of over blowing things out of proportion, that they're trying to attribute it to like, and everything from just Mother Nature being pissed off to their God having a fit over something, or some people are even talking about apocalyptic stuff. I had heard from a few people, and I'm like, really? I mean, I saw a really awesome article on Pantheist that talked about how most of the things people quote were actually talking about a very specific event that already happened near the lifetime of the people who were involved in the story in the Bible. So to keep bringing that up when it's already happened is kind of like, did you not miss that happened back then, and why are you still bringing it up? So yeah, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings on this, as you can see, and I'm going to let it go at that, because as an earth spiritualist and someone who is sensitive to environmental changes, I'm really just feeling that this is the earth, Mother Nature, what have you, doing its usual seasonal events, but perhaps the currents are stronger than normal and more intense due to human interference on the natural cycles of nature. That would be more of the truth than some pissed off whatever, be it the earth or some other invisible God. All right, that's my 2 or 3 cents on that. I was going to pull cards for it, but you know what? When I did it, it just sounded like I was starting to mimic what I was saying before. I tried working with the Witchery Oracle, and I don't want to, it's kind of neat that the cards came up saying almost exactly what I just said, but I've tried doing this video a couple of times, and I just feel like that's not very useful. I would love to just show you a few of my other cards that I love working with during the season. But I'm going to end this video and start another one and make sure my kids have started their homeschooling time on the subjects they do by themselves, and then I'll get to that next video I wanted to do. So this one's just a short one, kind of addressing some very irresponsible comments. I feel irresponsible, and I feel really unrealistic comments that I've been hearing from people in our culture in general, not necessarily specific people, although I did mention one or two, right? And it isn't just them. I know it's other people saying stuff like this, and I just think it's weird that we can't seem to take responsibility for our involvement in how it affects nature. So there you go. If you have any ideas about this or want to make some comments, if you like this kind of video or don't like it, please, like or dislike. Just let's get some interaction here, okay? All right. Peace. Bye.